What's up, Internet World, with the News 19 Nerds? I'm Leroy.
I'm Michael.
And we're here to talk about... Pew!
Black Widow.
Oh, no, that's Spider-Man.
I mean, she could do both of them, but...
But they're on the wrist. Spider-Man, It's in the inside. So she's...
Sure. Yeah, great. Black Widow. The movie that doesn't matter.
Nubian Widow. Scarlett Johansson.
Jesus, what a way to say it. Yeah. Okay.
You know she'd do it too.
So this was the movie that...
Ooh, I mean, you talk about me. You were the one throwing shots just now. The movie that didn't matter.
Well, that's not how I feel, but there are people... Friend of the show, Whitney Sullivan, was like, as much as she wanted to support Scarlett Johansson's movie, she's like, I don't really want to see it because
really?
I know she died and I don't care about her story. It's like, interesting.
So, okay, continue.
Well, I mean, I'm saying some people feel that.
Not some, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, I could understand that. It's kind of like Marvel has done such a great job. It's almost a double-edged sword because you want to follow these movies. Done a good job? I think of course, the 24 movies, I'd say they've done a good job.
I would qualify that statement. Doing a good job how? Because I
think they've done a good job in terms of getting people conditioned to follow what the storyline is and be like, if you want to keep up, you got to watch all these movies. The bad side of that is when you make a prequel movie, people may not care because they're like, the storyline doesn't matter.
I'm going to go in a different direction. They have not done a good job when it comes to female representation, because there's no way in the world this movie should have got made. And Captain Marvel got made before that movie got made.
Okay.
And I love a lot of things that Marvel does, and I think they have done an excellent job in certain areas. As far as servicing the character of Black Widow, piss poor.
Okay.
And I am very upset that it took this long for us to get the Black Widow movie, and this is the movie we got.
Okay.
And that's why I said I want you to qualify that, because I disagree that they've done a good job with this character.
It's not what I said.
What I'm saying is done a good job. And the reason why I say that is because of this character.
Okay.
Because of how they've handled certain characters. And I understand there's new management. They've consolidated a lot of things so that TV and movies coincide, and it's more streamlined. Yeah. But I feel like when it comes to Scarlett Johansson's character of Black Widow, they have not done a good job of giving her a vehicle like they have done everyone else.
I'd agree totally with that. I think that's a very valid argument.
Because again, I love Black Widow. I love Natasha's character. However, DC beat them to it. Explain to me how Warner Brothers was able to pull that movie off before you got that off. And that's an indictment on the MCU. Sure. And Kevin Feige has doing everything he can to rectify that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, at that point, we can keep arguing about that. That sucks. But the movie in front of us, I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't the best solo Marvel movie, but I enjoyed it. It's not the worst Marvel movie for me. To me, the worst MCU movies are probably still...
Nope. What's the worst MCU movie? I want your worst movie.
Probably, maybe Thor: Dark World.
Okay.
And again, when I say worst, I just mean one I don't need to watch again. I didn't hate it. It's just like... It's
interesting you said that, and not what other people have said. Iron Man 2 and 3. I'm gonna say something that's controversial, but I don't care. Some people have said the first Avenger wasn't very good.
Captain America: The First Avenger?
A lot of people are not a real big fan of that.
I mean, I liked it, but I could see it. It's a slower movie. Sure.
I liked it, but I was disappointed by it.
How about Black Widow?
Yes.
Okay.
I was very upset. I was at the end of it. I was like, huh, and then I was like, that's it. And that's why I'm very critical of that statement. Marvel's done a good job, because I think in this instance, after everything we've seen, Marvel dropped the ball with this movie.
Okay. So what would you rate it?
It gets a solid 3 out of 5 Widow bites, and there's only one reason why. Florence Pugh.
Okay.
If Florence Pugh was not in this movie, this would be Marvel's worst movie. Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Because of where, and I'll explain, but go ahead. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Florence Pugh is the reason why I like this movie.
Okay, I'd agree with that. I'm trying to. Yeah, I'd probably give it 3.5 out of 5 Quinjets. Yeah, that was fine. I thought it was a perfectly serviceable movie. Now we can go ahead and get into spoilers and talk. And the reason why I want to say is
spoilers, people.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen it, go see it. Spend $30 or go to the movie theater or wait.
I think when they call this movie Black Widow, this movie is Florence Pugh's Black Widow movie, and not Natasha Romanoff or Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow movie. And I think that was an interesting choice. Florence Pugh definitely kills the role she's in. To be fair, I like the entire family unit that they have of Florence Pugh, Rachel Weisz, David Harbour, and Scarlett Johansson. I like that together.
The Red Guardian.
Every time,
I love my girls.
Every time those 4 people were together, even when it was 3 people, like when it was Scarlett and Florence and David, and he was like, "You were the youngest mass murderer ever," and I was so happy with you. He sold that scene of just being like this kind of kooky old man who wasn't their dad but was their dad. So I enjoyed all those characters. This movie was definitely setting up Florence Pugh to be the next Black Widow. I think in that region it succeeded. I don't think it worked in the terms of making Scarlett Johansson. This was not a good send-off piece for Scarlett Johansson. I definitely agree with that.
You done?
Sure.
If Florence Pugh wasn't in this movie, this was the worst MCU movie ever. Because you have 10 years. This wasn't a phase 1 movie. This wasn't you're figuring out, oh, what should we do with Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. You already know who these characters are. And this is what you gave us after everything. And this is a person who was a founding member of the Avengers for your MCU. This is a character who was in Iron Man 2. This is a character who you've seen all of this work this woman has done. And that's the best you can do. This was a disservice to Scarlett Johansson and her character as Black Widow. Okay. Because you basically did this movie. It's a backhanded compliment. It's almost like a backhanded compliment.
Sure.
And it's like, you're nice to be fat. You're so pretty to be dark. Those are the comments that this movie is. Because we've been, as fans, they have been asking for not just a female-led movie, a Black Widow movie. When, again, Warner Brothers was able to give us this, and we know how much of a dumpster fire that organization is. And after 10 years, this is the movie you gave us, and you only did it to set up Yelena Belova.
What would you have wanted in the movie to make
why
it
not?
better?
Why not just do a full prequel and show us how she got out of the Red Room and like give Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow, her own movie.
Okay.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You did which is what the MCU is now. It's a vehicle for everything else, for Disney Plus, for your movies, for your toys. And I understand that. It's a multinational corporation. They're about that dollar. Get your money, boo-boo. However, for you to tell me this is a Black Widow movie and that's what you gave me, that's not a Black Widow movie.
Okay.
That's a vehicle for you to set up your next thing. And if I was Scarlett Johansson, I would be mad because I got outshined by Florence Pugh.
I mean, that might be on Scarlett, though.
Whoa!
I mean,
whoa, sir!
Florence Pugh was bringing it. What you want? You want Florence Pugh to bring her level down?
I'm not saying she should. I'm just saying they should have made sure Scarlett Johansson shined in this, and she did not.
Okay.
She shined in other movies that weren't even her own. She shined, and let me tell you why. She shined in The Winter Soldier more than she shined in her own movie.
I agree with that.
And how do you have that happen in this movie when you're this far along? And that's why I say this is the worst MCU movie if it hadn't been for Florence Pugh. Because because this is the thing. I've watched all of the trailers. I've gone back, looked at the trailer, looked at Black Widow's trailers. Because the first one, remember, we did, I was like, I'm not impressed.
Right.
And then they recut it. Guess what they recut it to look like?
What?
The Winter Soldier. Go back and watch the Winter Soldier's trailers, and then watch when they introduced Taskmaster, and then they introduced the Winter Soldier in this conversation.
Sure.
They went back and recut that, and it looks like the Winter Soldier trailer. Then go back and watch the Winter Soldier, and then you watch this, and you're like, oh, that's what y'all tried to do. You did not succeed.
Yeah, for me, so yeah, I would agree that this did not do Scarlett Johansson any favors. I think this did set up Florence Pugh to make me like her. I'm excited to see where Florence Pugh goes. Florence Pugh was really killing it in this role. Yeah, I want to see her and Contessa. It was interesting when we talked about when we saw Winter Falcon. We were saying there were rumors that we were supposed to see Contessa and Black Widow. We would have seen that first, and then they would have set her up in Captain and Winter Falcon.
And then that whole thing would have been. And so we've talked about this in our review, how the way that they had to reconfigure the whole release schedule, and then everything still has to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, like going back to Whitney's point, really, the movie itself really doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. It kind of adds more backstory a little bit to Scarlett Johansson. But it kind of gave us a solo moment that we didn't need. I didn't really care where she got the vest from. That wasn't something I cared about. I thought that was really weird when she got the vest from Yelena. I was like, I don't care about that.
I did, because I love the interaction.
So the interaction was cool. I don't need the vest.
See, this is the thing. I think when you were saying this was not a good vehicle for her. For Scarlett Johansson, no. This was Florence Pugh's coming out movie. And that's my biggest problem with this movie, that if you're going to have that, then this isn't a Black Widow. Like, Black Widow's, basically what they did with the term was threw Black Widow out there and said this is a Black Widow movie, but then they switched it. It was like, it's not really Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow movie. Sure. It's really Florence Pugh's Black Widow movie. And that's what this movie is. And that's why I feel like it's a disservice.
I totally agree. It definitely doesn't do Scarlett Johansson any favors. Do you think if they could have done everything better, maybe they had given Scarlett Johansson a true solo movie that she deserves, then they do a Black Widow 2 where they do a prequel of something and then show something? Would you have preferred that? Like, say she had her own solo movie, that was her own solo movie. Then, say this was a sequel movie where they did a prequel and they brought in Yelena.
I feel like you could have brought in Yelena in this movie. The problem is what you try to do is set up so many different Marvel pieces when everybody has been asking you for a Black Widow movie, not just because of the character, but because we need more female representation in these movies. Sure. You cannot continue to have these movies and then be a playground for straight white males. People keep thinking that these things are in a vacuum. Representation matters. It's why Black Panther made so much money, because people got to see characters that looked like them, and other people was like, diversity matters, and people were like, oh my gosh, that's a great movie. I remember we talked, and there was a white guy who was there with his son. He was like, this was awesome. That's what I want to see. That's why this movie was so important, because we can't just have 3 or 4 movies when one character has 4 movies. Sure. So that's the problem that I have with this, in the sense of it was an okay movie. And the problem I have is like, you like food. You are a food connoisseur. You always tell me, do not, if you're hungry, don't go to McDonald's. Be better than that.
I do say that.
When you're hungry, this was McDonald's. Okay. I was hungry. Don't give me this BS. Okay. Where was the Scarlett Johansson steak? Okay. Where was the whatever restaurant you want to use? Ruth Chris, whatever high class. This should have been the swan song, her coming out, her send off, whatever you want to call it, and it was not that. There were some good moments in it. We can talk about them. There were some great moments in it where she was okay. She was being hunted. But I didn't feel that there were any real stakes, because the characters that were in there, you're just showing me, and I already know she dies. We already know you're setting this up to be Yelena's movie, Florence Pugh's movie. So there are no real stakes in this movie.
For me, so we talked enough about Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow, whether she got the service. We get that. My question is, how do you feel about Taskmaster? Now, have you seen Black Widow? Of course not. What do you mean, of course not? What do you...
Filming right now?
Yeah, we're filming.
I'm gonna say...
Yeah. About to interrupt y'all.
Okay, I'll just ask a question.
This one hurts me.
So, people, friends of the show, all the Marvel Hollywood execs, stop. I know there's like a screen guild you have to do in terms of where you put people's names. As soon as I saw Olga Kurylenko, I was like, oh, she's Taskmaster. because we hadn't seen her in anything. I didn't know she was in the movie. And then I saw the name. I was like, your name is too big, so you're Taskmaster.
And not only that, they kept trying to misdirect us by saying him. And people had already said
it was going to be female.
It was going to be a female.
Yeah.
And I don't know who leaked that out.
Yeah.
And this is my problem with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't give two blank, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
What I care about is that the character Taskmaster is an amoral, fill in the blank, I'm about my paper, I don't give up who I got to kill, what I got to do.
Right.
Don't give me this, I wronged her and now I must save her.
Mm-hmm.
Taskmaster is the dude that when you see show up, you're like, I did not want this fight today.
Yeah.
And you're like, you may live, but you're like, man, you know you were in a fight.
Yeah.
And the way they set up Taskmaster, that was what you gave me.
Yeah.
That is not the character that was.
No, I agree with that.
And so and again, a lot of people are upset because it wasn't this. I don't care if it wasn't this. Captain America doesn't look like Captain America in the comic books. I don't care. I don't need it to be comic accurate like some people are like. I think it's cool when they do it.
Right.
But if the costume functions, now don't do black X-Men. Don't do the leather suits. Don't give me that BS.
Right.
I don't care if it looks like this. I want the essence of the character to remain.
Sure.
I wanted someone who shows up, who you give hey, Venmo me $4 million, and I'll kill whoever you want. I'll kill your mom if you want me to. Send me the money. And
I think. Go ahead.
That's kind of what you got with Deadshot with Will Smith. Remember in the beginning, Deadshot was like, just I'm about my paper.
Right.
Taskmaster is about that paper.
Right.
I don't
think this movie gave enough time to flesh out who Taskmaster was.
And
going back to the whole Olga Kurylenko thing, I think it's awesome that she's in the movie. Don't put her name in there. There's got to be some kind of way where you can work something out so you can put somebody's name later so that you don't know. I'll give you a perfect example. A show that I always bring up, Psych. TV show Psych. Like the season 3, the main villain,
mm-hmm.
it was a well-named person, but they never put the name in the cast, so we didn't know who the villain was going to be until the end, and they said this person was playing that, so it kind of we weren't ruined from the beginning of the show because we didn't know.
Let me tell you how we know they can do that.
Why?
Loki last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler for if you hadn't seen it, Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Was his name in the beginning?
Well, that's not the same because they don't have any names in the beginning.
So you can do it. You just didn't do it for this movie.
Right. What I'm saying is, but I'm not talking about TV show. I'm talking about I guess what I want to know is it different from movies for TV shows?
I know because we've seen movies that just start.
True.
So that's what I'm saying. They could have done it. They just did a piss poor job. That's the problem that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You've done 10 years of movies. You know how this works. You know what kind of fan base you have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what kind of stories you can tell. Thor: The Dark World, Thor: Ragnarok. Which one is better?
Is this a rhetorical?
I'm asking.
Ragnarok.
Okay then. Let's go with Captain America.
Uh-huh.
Winter Soldier, First Avenger.
I really do like First Avenger.
But hold on.
I really do like First Avenger.
You go tell me Winter Soldier is not better.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
but
I don't want you to put it like that.
Okay.
The way you're saying it makes it seem like First Avenger is bad.
I'm
really
not saying
like
it's
First
bad.
Avenger.
What I'm saying is each one it gets better.
Yeah.
First Avengers, Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem, that you know how the industry works. You know you could have just started the movie
mm-hmm.
with her in the beginning getting chased by Thunderbolt Ross. She gets away. She goes to Norway where she can blend in with all the other Nords.
Mm-hmm.
And then, boom, Black Widow. You could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't. Mm-hmm. You went through this whole thing of explaining how the Red Room works and how all these different things going. And you put names here. You put all this other stuff. Just start the movie.
Okay.
Hide these people, because you can do it in TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in movies. I've seen it.
Okay.
How many movies have we watched and we're like, oh man, they just started the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could. Why didn't you do this with that?
I don't know.
And that's the problem that I have with this entire movie. They could have done a better job, and they didn't. Okay. And I'm not knocking, because it's a totally fine movie.
So you have spent most of the time bashing this movie, which you have every right to. Are there any things about
Florence
it?
Pugh.
So was that it?
How does...
Did you care about the action, or did you think
the action was good.
Okay, I'm just asking were there other things
But this is the thing. all of it becomes secondary when I don't care about the characters. When I don't, so like I'm caring about Florence Pugh and her journey, but I know there are no real stakes because I already know you're setting this up. I already know that Scarlett Johansson dies, so I don't care about her. You have to give me something to care about. And the family dynamic I cared about, but this is the thing. How is it that you're going to talk a character who has spent all the last 20 years in the Red Room improving mind control, who just went along with the flow, and you guys show up in 15 minutes and they're like, you know what, let's overthrow everything.
Yeah.
That's total, like, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That was some BS. And that's the problem I have with this movie, that you continuously have these moments where it's like, this is great. And then you do that and you're like, really? And like that whole, the face taking off, and I'm like, oh, did y'all just do Mission Impossible? Come on, man.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that kind of is Black Widow's thing. She's done that in several movies.
I understand that. However, why are you still doing the same thing?
Because it's a callback. Marvel always does the same thing.
But
like they call back to stuff to other people.
They call back, but they also elevate.
Yeah.
And in every movie, since I will say since Civil War, they have elevated everything, and that is the one damning thing that I will give them. Because how do you do a better job? And again, I was very critical of Captain Marvel, but at least they did their best to give us a coming out movie as far as this is the character. It was like they tried to do too many things in this movie instead of just doing a Black Widow movie.
Sure.
And then you could have had Yelena's coming out in the Hawkeye. You could have done all of this, and then Yelena shows up at the end with Contessa, and then you're like, she will be back in Hawkeye, like we've seen, and that's my biggest problem with this movie, that everything else could become secondary because you tried to do too much to service a character who you're already going to see, and did a disservice to a character who has given you so much.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
It wasn't worth $30.
Oh yeah. I didn't do Disney Premier Plus. I didn't do that.
That's my.
But I haven't done that for any of the movies.
But
for
that's
Disney
my.
Premier
But
Plus.
this is the thing. I'd have given Disney $30 for Endgame. I'd have given Disney $30 for Infinity War. I'd have given Disney $30 for Thor Ragnarok, Captain America 2 and 3. I would have.
Hold on.
I would have.
You can't say that in hindsight. Like, that's easy for the Avengers movies, sure, but to say for Thor Ragnarok, you're basing it off the trailer.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about it before. We have
Thor,
talked about before where we have said Black Widow may be the movie that may make us spend $30. I didn't.
I have always said I was not giving them $30 for Black Widow.
That's not true.
Yes, I
go back and watch these videos.
I've always said I was not giving them $30 because I told you I didn't even want to see this in a theater.
Like, yeah, and then you changed your mind after the last trailer. You were like,
because they cut it like Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give them $30. I was like, I'll wait till this thing comes like past the premiere pass.
Sure.
I tell you what, I will give them $30 for.
What?
I'll give you $30 for Into the Spider-Verse Part 2.
Sure.
I'll give you $30 for Doctor Strange and the Madness. I'll give you $30 for the Eternals, and I've only seen a trailer. But I won't give you $30 for Black Widow, and I don't recommend you giving Disney $30 because one, they don't need it. Two, they did a bad job.
Friends of the show, Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, y'all are welcome to come on anytime to talk to us about it.
And Nubian Princess Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, we would love to talk to you about this and how you feel about your movie. Florence Pugh, much respect to you.
Yeah.
You're on the way up.
I mean, if David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, I mean, we're just inviting everybody. Olga Kurylenko, just come on. So cool.
I don't know. I'm still mad at her.
What did she do? She was just in the movie taking a part.
She is so much potential, and she is in so many bad roles.
She is, but I mean, you gotta get what you
Max
can get.
Payne.
She was in Hitman. You remember that?
I liked her in Hitman. I like Hitman. Hitman is I have that. I own that. I like that movie.
I kind of wish we had also, since we're talking about stuff, I wish we had seen more. I think the way that they introduced what Taskmaster could do was interesting in a way to kind of ground it. Whereas she takes a chip and downloads and reads stuff. I think that was an interesting idea and a way to ground it overall. I wish we got to see Taskmaster do more things from other Marvel characters. Like there was a second where we saw a Black Panther thing, we saw Captain America, we saw Hawkeye, and I think when Taskmaster swings in, she swings in like Spider-Man. So that was kind of cool. I wish we had seen more of that to get the idea that Taskmaster can copy every move.
You know what? I've been a little critical. I love the Widows themselves. I enjoyed that. I like the idea of the Red Room being up. But this character who Ray Winstone plays, we'd never seen him before. I did not like the fact. You know that big dude was Ursa Major? in the prison.
Oh.
The one who turns into a... Yeah, see?
Huh.
That's Ursa Major. He turns into the bear.
Okay, well. Maybe they'll talk about that in Black Widow too.
I mean...
Although, to be fair, that avalanche, I feel like the avalanche wiped out everybody in that prison.
I mean, bears are, survive a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's why I'm so upset, because I love this character. I love Black Widow. I think Natasha Romanoff is a very interesting character, and I think this whole idea of this red in the ledger, she kept saying it, and I wanted to see what did she have to do to get out. Like, what is these? Because to me, I would have liked a Black Widow movie that showed her as the villain, and then you have this moment where she turns, and that's why I said I would have liked to see him in the movie.
Yeah, that'd have been interesting.
Oh, well, you know what? Maybe
you did see him in the movie.
You saw him at the end.
Yeah, you saw a photo of him.
What I'm saying is, I would have liked to have seen Budapest. How did he convince the world's best assassin spy to turn?
Yeah.
How do you that? To me, would have been a better movie. And not only that, how did you leave behind Yelena and everybody else? Like, you thought you won. How did you show me that?
Right.
That would have been the movie I'd wanted to see. Versus this, because it's not a bad movie if this was a phase 1 movie. But in 2020, when this movie was supposed to come out, think about this movie was supposed to come out right immediately after Endgame to be the swan song, so to speak, for Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow character, and to this jumping pad for this next phase. Now we've waited, and we realize this is what it is. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And that's how I feel about it.
Cool. Y'all let us know in the chat what you think below in the comments here on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WOTX.com. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the button, and then we put up new videos. We out.
Peace.